Hi, my name is Nicholas Governanti here with the SUNYAC, and for this week's Friday Five, we are here with Cortland alumni Anthony Sprague and former All-Region pitcher. Thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it.
No problem, Nicholas. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And for our first question for you, Anthony, it is, what is your current job, and briefly share your path to get to where you are?
So I'm currently general manager of the Buffalo Bisons, AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. I started back in '98 was my freshman year at Cortland, and went there because of the sport management program. During recruiting trips and whatnot, was promised that it was coming there. So went through and got my degree, sport management. I think I was one of the first degrees coming out of sport management. There was only about 15 of us in that first wave. So took that route, internship with the Buffalo Bisons, and got lucky to a job opened up after my internship as an account executive doing ticket sales and sponsorship sales for them. Then moved up to director of sales a few years in. Then from director of sales to assistant general manager, and this past March being named general manager of the Bisons.
Nice. So what was it like to actually host the Toronto Blue Jays this season at your venue?
Well, that was certainly a little bit of a curveball for sure. That normally it's AAA baseball, minor league baseball, and after 15 plus years, I've gotten into a pretty good groove there. So hosting a Major League Baseball regular season game in itself is a challenge, but to do it under these COVID restrictions it was a really a huge undertaking. It was something I'll never forget. A once in a lifetime opportunity to host Major League Baseball at a minor league facility, but also kind of a little empty too. No fans, so all the things you're used to, fans cheering, all the additional layers that brings. The energy to the ballpark, it was really missing, and kind of an odd thing, to be honest with you. Almost seemed like little league, high school games where players are doing stuff. You can hear the players on the field yelling and cheering more than anything else. A really odd situation, but certainly something once in a lifetime, and something I'll never forget.
When did you realize, probably in the process of Toronto looking for a home ballpark, that your ballpark would be the one that they would play in for home games?
They were in constant contact with us that it was going to be an opportunity and it would be a possibility. I probably didn't believe it until maybe the middle of April, beginning of May, when it seemed that our season was going to be canceled. We weren't going to have a season. And then those conversations started to pick up a little bit. But even from the time we were getting the ballpark ready, it was unsure if they were actually going to come. We had their depth squad where they have extra players that were actually at our ballpark, and we were still working towards setting up the ballpark for the major league team. So even up till they really showed up, we were unsure if they were coming, because there were so many different chances that they could go somewhere else, go to Baltimore, go to Pittsburgh, stay in Canada. There were so many different things that we just needed to keep working and keep going, and hoping that they were going to come.
That's awesome. Our next question for you is, how do you think your experiences as a student athlete prepared you for post-college life?
Significantly. There are so many different scenarios that you go through in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day job, that when I was playing, you always ran into adversity and you needed to be mentally tough for it. And specifically, Coach Brown really got us into that mode of being mentally tough. We practiced outside when it was snowing. There were so many different situations where being in New York always toughened us up a little bit more compared to some of the teams that are in Florida, Texas, whatnot, in nice weather year round. And that being a student athlete and needing to compete every single day with a bunch of great players, a bunch of great coaches, really made me mentally tough. I think moving into my career, and baseball's a grind, and doing the internship was a grind, and working the season's a grind. I mean, we work 80, 90 hours a week. So you really need to be mentally tough in order to handle it, because you're dealing with rain, you're dealing with adversity, you're dealing with so many different things. You put plans together, and in very few circumstances does everything go perfectly to plan. So you need to be mentally tough and be able to adapt and be able to handle it. And I think playing baseball in college was a huge factor in that.
Nice. What is your most memorable moment as a student athlete?
We had some great ones. We went to 4 straight College World Series. But I think probably the coolest thing that we did was we traveled to Russia my senior year for some baseball games to play, and kind of a good thing to do. And it's a few years ago now, but certainly it was to grow the game in Russia, and we had relationships there. So that trip really kind of put a bow on my career, and was probably one of the coolest things that no one would ever go there. So it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. You go on vacation a lot of different places, and very few times do you say, yeah, hey, I want to go vacation in Russia and St. Petersburg and Moscow. So that was an opportunity that I'm sure would never have come up without playing baseball at Cortland.
Was that like before the season started, or like?
It was after, actually. So we unfortunately lost in the College World Series, and it was, I think, 2 weeks later we went to to the trip and went to Moscow for a short period of time, then St. Petersburg, and then came back after that. So that was one of the probably the most notable things that I remember during my career.
Nice. So do you currently participate in athletics? If so, what? If not, when was the last time you competed?
No, I don't currently anymore. It's been a few years, and I got to tell you, I really do miss it. And I think a few years back, we hosted at the Ballpark, the Bison's Field. We hosted the Cortland baseball team. They came through and practiced at our facility before going to the World Series. The year they won the national championship, too, I might add. And that was actually, being around it again, watching guys throwing bullpens and taking grounders and hitting in the cages. And that, honestly, I think that's what you look back, you talk about, you miss games, you miss competing. I miss the practices. I miss hanging out. I miss the bus rides. I miss the camaraderie. You looking back, you don't realize it at the time, but those are the things you miss. Looking back on it and just being around the game, being around the guys and joking around, and it was as if I never left. And I wanted to grab a glove and throw a bullpen there, but it's been a while, and I really do kind of miss that competition factor, playing organized sport.
Definitely. Well, our last question for you, Anthony, is what advice would you give current student athletes that maybe you wish you got when you were in their position?
Enjoy the time that you're in right now. It's hard to realize it when you're currently there. And I started to realize, I think my last few bus rides, it kind of started to hit home. Like, holy cow, this is it. It's all going to come to an end. I may never play again. And, it was truthful. I never did play again. But you need, even as a freshman, you come in, you're thinking about so many different things. You're worried about competing for your job. You're worried about, class and studies and keeping your grades up and all that stuff. And that's obviously important things you need to worry about. But at the same time, you need to sit back and kind of take a step back and realize that you're always going to look back at this time fondly, and you don't want to miss it. You don't want it to just blow by, and you before you know it, you're out in the real world. So try and whatever you're doing, whatever time you're doing, just take a step back and sit there and kind of reflect and look at what you're doing and try and embrace it a little bit more, because it's going to be gone in a flash. And you're going to wake up and you're going to be 40. You're going to have a job and kids, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that, and you're going to hopefully be in a good place. But you're going to look back and you're going to say you'd give almost anything to have another day at practice, at playing a game, competing, going to class, hanging out with friends. So take that time you have now and really try and embrace it as much as you can.
Great piece of advice right there. Well, this wraps up another week's edition of the Friday Five. My name is Nicholas Governanti here at the SUNYAC. This was Anthony Sprague, Cortland alumni and current GM of the Buffalo Bisons. Thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it, Anthony.
No problem, Nicholas. Thanks a lot.
No problem.